buckets outside and let the rainwater just flow in the buckets and then pour it into the pit ourselves, because that's free.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just struggling with, my pit's gonna fill up anyway.
A big part of it is also the liner. We've heard that a lot of these pits are near the sewer drains, and so sewage can infiltrate. Neil alluded to the health improvements that could be associated with lining the pit. So that's part of it. It's kind of a combination between the liner and the
Yeah, I would just ask specific questions. Just
right.
So that you have more than that.
Yeah.
I really like all the photographs you have and all the direct ground research data you have, and that you went back. I mean, that's really, really important that you went back and you're validating those now and in the past. Put more of that in your presentation, more of the data of here's how many people we talked to, if you have it. It's, even though it's a marketing pitch, people in business and engineers are still doing data-driven decisions, and they want to know, and clearly you're not going to have 1,000 people you've interviewed, but it's good to know what drove your decisions. Was it 2 interviews? Was it 10? You know, and then kind of what the variety of responses were. So as much data as you can get in there in an easy way to absorb is still really helpful.
I think to build on that point, you know, adding some numbers in around how much your solution affects the problem. To Dan's earlier point, you know, when you're talking about a scarcity issue, how much water is used for secondary uses versus drinking water, and then be able to show that you can collect, even in your pilot site, you can collect so much water, which will then satisfy however much of the secondary need and free up X numbers of liters for drinking water, so that you can actually show an impact of the solution that you're thinking. So I think you need a little bit more of a concise description of your problem, and then link your solution directly back to how you address that problem.
And I would just build on that, because it sounds like to me the people in the potters community would still need to go to the tap for 3 hours every morning, right? Because you still need that drinking water anyway. So to highlight that as part of the problem doesn't necessarily help your cause, because you're not solving that problem.
I think part of the 3 hours that we keep referring to is people need to make more than one trip. So the 3 hours is I'm getting the water and I'm coming back to the house, I'm dumping it in my bucket and my big tank, I'm going back. It's a 3-hour process because that's how long it's available for, so they want to get as much water as possible. So yes, there's still going to be a trip to the tap to get that drinking water, because that's the water they're comfortable with. They've been using it for a long time and they feel okay drinking it. So if they just have to make one trip, mom can come back, kids can go to school, they don't have to get water for 3 hours. That's where the impact would be of having a different source.
Okay. Yeah, and then with interviews with the people, they have actually said that they would like specifically double the amount that they get. So if you can get these 3 hours of tap water as well as another amount from somewhere else, that's what they want. So they can.
It wasn't quite clear to me if you're planning in this first phase, you know, the potters will obviously be collecting this water, but then are you intending for them to be selling this water to the other people in the slums, or is it just intended for their use? Because when you say these big pits, I would figure that there would be more than enough water for them if that fills up.
That's definitely a position that we considered. We haven't figured out the logistics quite yet of the distribution if they were to sell it, but certainly that's something we're looking at.
Yeah, and the thing about that area is that in the pottery houses of 2 rooms, there's about 10 people living over there. Some of these people are temporary, they come and go, they're just hired workers who basically stay there also. So they're changing, but there's always a constant number of about a large number of people. So this water would definitely be consumed by them also, because if other houses have 5, these guys have like 10 to 15 people.
Yeah, my question would be again related to the ownership of that water. I mean, it's not really clear that those pits, are they legally owned by those people? If they create a pit there, why wouldn't a neighborhood, I mean, just even if it's the potters who are living in that neighborhood, why would they say, yeah, that water belongs to you, I cannot come? Because those pits, I think, would be like a community-owned pits.
No, they're in the residential area, so they're their own pits, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
The walled-off yard, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Cumberland, the pottery region happens to be one of we believe actually the only industry that's actually allowed, if you will. So
legal,
yeah, it's the only legal industry, so it has a lot better standing in the community in terms of permanence than costs.
Yeah, there have been a lot of plans of redevelopment of Dharavi in the future. So these issues keep coming up every year. As in some builder comes and he says, we want to build skyscrapers over here and we'll relocate these guys. But one thing is for sure, this industry, because of its cultural and the heritage that it has and the legality, it's here to stay. It's not moving from Dharavi. So it's you can look at this solution in the future also.
I'd stress more of that because that's an advantage for the area.
Yeah.
And I think on your overall business model too, I think you need a little bit more detail, not only on the cost side, but also on sort of the potential, and not necessarily for profit or, I mean, it's hard to determine pricing. That's a given. And any investor, I think, would know that pricing is an interesting exercise. But it made me think about job creation. I mean, if you were able to establish this in this particular area, you have to have someone who goes around and, sells the system, installs the system, and so some thought around how you might be creating a new small industry might be useful to your pitch.
Yeah, thinking in terms of customer service, I mean, we thought, having a maintenance or repair crew, I mean, there's a lot, I think there's opportunities for that work, for job creation, so definitely something to look at in the long term.
I think your sales model too might be a little bit difficult if you're trying to, it's unclear kind of in the description whether you're talking about a community solution or an individual solution. So if it's a community solution where you're collecting water from a variety of rooftops and collecting it in larger pits, outside of this initial phase with the pottery group, then who makes that decision? Is there any kind of community structure that's non-governmental or even governmental that you sell that solution to, or is it door to door and you have to get everyone in the neighborhood to agree? I think that's complicated on the sales model, so you might want to simplify that a little bit.
You talked about using local materials and, really taking advantage of what's already there. Have you thought about how much of the market or what percentage of the community you would have to get during the pilot to really make it make sense, or is that part of what the pilot's designed to do?
That would be part of what the pilot is designed to do, but generally the costs of the actual materials are extraordinarily low. So it's a less important concern to us at the moment, but we will be investigating availability of those materials because we wouldn't want to totally depopulate the whole community of gutters, etc. But in general, that is part of the investigation that we'll be performing as well.
Who pays for the tankers? Is it the municipal corp when they have to bring a tanker?
Well, no, if there's severe water shortages, such as in, suppose my building, the tank's not working today, or if the tap's not supplying water, then you just call in and it's a private dealer that sends a tanker. So it takes about ₹500, which is like $10, and they supply about like 12,000 liters of water.
So the slum residents are the ones.
So some residents would have a community, they would each donate like ₹10 each. And that's a very once in a while thing. It's not affordable.
It may just be useful to give an idea how much these people make in a day, or because again, you say it's 10 rupees or whatever. I don't know how much, how big of a constraint that actually is for the people there.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've kind of taken our time.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Very good feedback. The next group is coming in now.
Somewhere you mentioned 1 square mile, 1 million people. Is that right?
Yeah.
1 lakh people in 1 square mile.
Yeah.
Or is it 10,000?
No, it's definitely
1 square mile.
Yeah, 1 square mile.
So just
It's a very big area.
Yeah, I know.
No, sorry, very small area, a lot of people.
So 1 square mile, 10 lakh people. Just check this number. So 1 million Polam Dharavi. How much would be Polam Dharavi?
Full of Dharavi? That's it.
Yeah, but Dharavi is more than 1 square mile, right?
Well, it's about, how to put it? I need to check that.
Just, I mean, I know that.
I'll check.
Just check the numbers and once you, I mean, I don't think anyone in US will capture that, but once you're buying 10 lakh people see model. So you have what you say, MS? You are MS?
No, 100 every.